whenever I talk about business analytics, why does everyone talk about the narrative, the storytelling?
The head of Google Analytics basically said, I'm looking at a room, I'm trying to recruit somebody.
Yeah.
I am not going to be able to differentiate between people based on their technical ability. So I'm going to look for the person who can tell the best story.
Yeah. Hi guys, welcome to another episode of our podcast, Talent First. Right now I'm in Philadelphia at Drexel University, sitting with Dean Vibhas. Hi sir, how are you?
I'm very well. Raghav, how are you?
Very good sir. Before the podcast started, you and I were talking in Hindi. तो हिंदी ही ट्राई करते हैं.
चलो.
आप और मैं बहुत सेम जगह से आते हैं.
हाँ बिल्कुल.
Like आपका घर मेरा घर से like would be like 2 minutes away.
हाँ शायद वो भी नहीं 10 मिनट 2 मिनट.
हाँ बहुत it was very nearby. Perfect. So sir, would definitely want to like in a very fast summary, if you could summarize your journey a bit.
हाँ बिल्कुल. तो I grew up in Delhi. वहीं कमला नगर के पास आप जहाँ रहते थे.
Right.
I went to St. Xavier School, and my father and mother both were at the university. And then after doing my undergraduate in Delhi at Hindu College, and then I went to Delhi School. And then just like my father, वो भी professor थे, मैं सोचा ये करना ही चाहिए, तो मैं यहाँ PhD करने आया Michigan State. So that's where I went. And I did my PhD in economics at Michigan State. And then planned how to go back to India and teach there, but life happens. And and you know, my wife, I met my wife, and she's from Pennsylvania, and we decided to live here. So we got married and live here. So I got a job 89, quite a while back now. So I've been here for some time at Drexel University. So it's been an amazing journey.
Wow.
And, but I've kept in touch with what's happening in the world across here and in India, and so. So yeah, so that's a very quick journey, and also will tell you I came here as a professor.
Right.
And शुरू में तो classes, research ये था सब. उसके बाद middle way through late 90s में I got into administration, and then I actually became a department head, and I kind of built the economics program here. And then after that, about 5-6 years ago, dean's office में I was associate dean, and then उसके बाद 2020 May I became the dean. So that's a very fast kind of description of the time here. Of course, there are lots of details.
But sir, tell me one thing, right? When you were young in India, I'm sure that your parents were from the academia, so you could see you could get a back-end sense of how academia works. And then when you came to the US, how was it different? Like academia, university education as a whole?
That's a good question. Basically, yeah, you're right. क्योंकि university campus में बड़ा हुआ तो I could see. Basically.
आपके कुछ conceived notions भी होंगे.
थे पहले से थे, तो सारे चारों professor थे. Right. लेकिन फिर भी just seeing कैसे the biggest thing I found was when you're in academia, you tend to have some level of, as they say, intellectual freedom. You can think about things, do things you want to work on. So that was the main thing. And when you came to the US, so that was of course still the same. But the main big difference was the possibilities of what impact you could have in the world around you. So in India, it sometimes is not as obvious because there's a more of a, now though lately the बहुत change हो गया. Like when I went to school, there was a lot of commoditization. So there was a few top schools. उसके अलावा most of the universities, it was a struggle. So but the opportunities of how the level of education here gives you all kinds of opportunities that became much more obvious when I came here as a PhD student. So that's a big difference about the possibilities, capabilities of what you can do in the world with graduate degrees is so much more palpable in the system here.
So a lot of people right now are a bit scared around AI. Like for example, when you came, I'm sure like technology was very forward looking with respect to a fact that there was a lot of opportunity for what you were studying. Now people are a bit scared that what they are studying might become irrelevant. What is your thought about that?
No, I think, of course, one thing is clear. Change is much more rapid.
Right.
And so things move much more quicker. Of course, one always says in the universities things don't move as quickly, but that is changing. In a business school especially, constantly seeing what are the needs in terms of the market, how are the subjects changing. But not just that, how is the industry changing? So people normally used to say that you're going to make the students who come out of here kind of market ready. But the way we look at it now is to make students really world ready. So think more broadly. And so I'm not so concerned about what people are learning is going to be irrelevant. I just think the skills you're using will be used differently from what you think what is happening right now. And I think there's a lot of like self-motivated upskilling which can also happen. If you think about coding, when I grew up, there was now half the kids coming in already know how to code. We only have to teach it. So this will kind of organically change. So I am not so worried about saying, hey, I'm getting an irrelevant education. I can tell you, it's at least not in places which are constantly looking at feedback market loops and all. So I'm really not concerned about that. Academia understands this. Education institution understand this. So
the kind of candidates that come here, right? How would you describe an average person who's studying in the business school at Drexel? Like, what are certain characteristics that you guys aim that an average person in the business school should have?
So I'll answer a question, Raghav, in two ways. Ek to undergraduate or graduate different.
What different?
So,
right.
So आप शायद more focus graduate के बारे में कर रहे हो. Undergraduate तो is a student coming in thinking about the next job. Of course, the job is even more important at the graduate level. You go back basically for further. At the graduate level, if you're doing a PhD, it's a different story. But master's students and all are really coming already with a real strong sense of what they want to do in terms of careers, but how can they actually upskill to the next level? So the kind of student who comes here it kind of reflects what our undergrad structure also is. Apart from having really good academic skills, there's also a strong desire to really do something which makes a difference in terms of having impact on industry. So this is one of our real focuses at the business school here. What is the purpose of why you come here? So if you look at our strategic plan, there's a clear sense of what is the impact I'm going to have on the world around me? And we drive this here. So students who come here are not typically the students you'll see who will just be there sitting with your books and doing your homeworks, but thinking, being curious about the world around you. And because that's what makes for long, fulfilling career and life afterwards. So I don't know if that gives you a sense of what I'm thinking.
Makes a lot of sense. But if a person is sort of writing their SOPs or is writing their letters and is just trying to think how would the dean of the business school gauge that application. Again, I don't think so you look at applications, but let us assume on a random day you look at someone's application. How should I think before writing my application?
So one thing I will tell you very simply, everybody can write an application which kind of hits on technical points like I want to have a focused career, this is a problem, I want to study. So the details, I think what makes applications some thoughtfulness when you write a statement of purpose. So more of why do you want to do this? And rather than simply saying I want to do this because it'll get me a good job, that's not enough. So why do you really like this subject? So what is it? So always thinking of some kinds of instances or some kind of kabhi koi experience hua ho jiske wajah se aap soch rahe ho, this is the thing for me to do. So being able to show a little bit of passion, and the passion is not by talking about things which are mechanical or more transactional job related. Passion is really more deeper in terms of thinking about okay, ye kyun karna chahiye, is end result kya hoga isse, what is the inner satisfaction. So statement of purpose which focuses on the real why question. Why do I do this? And why do I want to do this?
So why should someone do the MS in Business Analytics according to you?
So the question for that would be, if you have an answer, for example, first of all, I'm interested in looking at how the world works. In addition to that, it's a very broad answer. So, but I'm also really feel I have a good ability to work with data. And I'm looking at the way I can make a difference by better understanding what business functions are, better helping companies, helping people, really do more accurate, focused analysis of how the markets are working around me. So business analytics would give me a sense. So that's the question. Of course, that's a conversation more broadly. Of course, at LeBow, we have our own business analytics programs, but I understand that Futurense is working with other areas on business analytics as well. So,
But so why is the demand for business analysts increasing? That is something that, on one side we are seeing automation happening. So you would assume that visualization of data and unstructured data being simplified is happening very automatically. But on the other side we are seeing increases in jobs in business analytics? Why do you think that is happening?
So one thing I will share with you, we are the word business analytics. What does that mean? So essentially, what are the jobs which are increasing? Let's just put the business analytics word aside for a second. Data. I mean, I'm not saying anything which is not obvious. It's essentially being able to work with data. And then although you have automation, which really helps your organization of data, and now you're also having data interpretation, which can happen in a more sophisticated fashion using these techniques. So at the end of the day, just the computing revolution going back years has really increased availability of data around us. We've been talking about big data for some time. So if you think about the trend in business analytics, I don't think that's a new trend. Recently, it's been, हमारे यहाँ पे तो at LeBow, we've seen a big increase in analytics like 3-4 years back, even before that. So now I think you're going to start seeing those same kind of skills being used even more broadly. So, and as you said, now we have automation. So what is the next? The next stage is, doing things which really bring together these different techniques. Still are things which can't just happen where the human factor is involved. So that's going to be more and more important in this. And we're trying to do that in our programs. So what we decided, one of the things we did was in our MBA program, we try to create these tracks which are more STEM-based tracks. And this is what is going to really drive the students to think about, it is not just the business analytics part, it is also really the storytelling part of what is going on in the...
So why does everyone, whenever I talk about business analytics, or why does everyone talk about the narrative, the storytelling? Why is that so critical?
You said it yourself. I mean, I can tell you, I give you a simple little example. So a few months ago, we had the head of Google Analytics here. He was giving a talk. So we get these speakers at LeBow. We had somebody from Intel last week. So we have these people here, and the head of Google Analytics basically said that, look, today, I mean, this is simplifying things. I'm looking at a room, I'm trying to recruit somebody with analytics background, and everybody in the room, given the availability, knows how to code. So I am not going to be able to differentiate between people based on their technical ability. So I'm going to look for the person who can tell the best story. Who is the person? All of you look at the same data set. All of you have the same results in hand. Who's going to be able to tell the next person, convince the next person, this is the way we should go. So the ability to do that, the ability to actually look at a bigger, broader picture of what makes sense for, say, a business enterprise overall, not just from the analytics perspective. So again, analytics is key, as you've talked about it, but these other areas is my feeling. It's going to get more and more important. And use the word narrative. So the narrative is really about, translating all of those pieces of information and data into a story which has an impact on the strategy of the unit. So that's more than analytics. It's founded in, so people use this word, data-driven, and the people, what they want to talk about is data-informed. Really, that is basically, again, that's something which people talk about.
So a lot of our Indian candidates, the Futurense US pathway candidates, that's one thing that they're a bit scared of. They think they're very good in technicalities, they're very good in coding, but when it comes to sort of presenting it, sort of building that narrative, that hype, they feel they're not that great. So how would Drexel support them on that?
So that's exactly the reason to go to a program at a grad school here. At Drexel, at LeBow, we put a lot of focus on, so what we've done is always we talk about analytical skills, but people historically use the word communication or soft skills. Just to have a stronger sense around that. Again, this is not an original thing. A number of people do this. We call these power skills. So how do we actually take students through our programs where, for example, you're doing some core programs and say on leadership and ethics, and you're looking at, we have special classes, say on communications, and group projects. And the other thing is at LeBow, we also have this key idea of bringing in people from outside the outside world into the classroom, interacting with alums. So getting exposed to the way of interacting with businesses around you. So really infusing outside elements into the classroom, into the accounting program, marketing, MBA program. So that's the key thing, to really understand the power skills element, which is as traditionally we call it, the importance of the soft skill. It goes back to storytelling.
Yeah.
So it's ingrained in the coursework. So, and also what we do outside the classroom. That's equally important sometimes.
Can you tell us some things that are done outside the classroom?
So some of the things we'll do right away, for example, we have workshops. We do workshops, for example, in just communication skills. We have panel discussions where we bring in people who can serve potentially even as advisors for students. And then in the graduate program, we have a mentoring program. So what we have is we have a number of our successful alums who are willing to engage directly one-on-one with students. So basically that's been a big factor in terms of really creating these outside the classroom experiences where you have people who are out there in the real world coming in and having an exchange. So structured things like panels and workshops, but also one-on-one interaction with professionals. So these are elements of that. So.
And so as you were saying that, some of these people sort of mentoring the students, and that's something that I've read a lot about, that the loyalty that the alumni at Drexel have is very high. Where does that stem from?
So couple of things. I mean, a lot of the alums you'll talk about are now, although they are mentoring, say, the graduate students, a lot of the alums are graduates from years ago who have been really successful. And one thing I will tell you about Drexel, which is amazing, it is a very high proportion of first-generation students.
Really?
So a lot of our alums are students who were, none of their parents and all had gone to colleges. And when you get students from India, we might find, so I think what really makes a difference is the fact that we have alumni who kind of came here and, who were the first in their generation to come here. And so what the university did for them in terms of their path. So that is a big connection, the whole idea of the college education and its long-term impact on you. So that's been a big impact. And I see that even with some of our international alums. So a lot of people come from India and other places. I mean, their parents didn't, some of us, fortunate our parents did go, but many families, they're the first ones to not just come to the US to study, but to go to college.
So with respect to like the Indian diaspora here, a lot of our candidates are are curious to understand how deep the Indian diaspora is here.
Especially if you're thinking about globally speaking, there were some articles recently in the Economist magazine and others about the Indian diaspora. So it is really incredible impact the Indian diaspora has in the economy here and culturally. If you think politically, we have in politics, you have, of course, lots, but more importantly for our perspective, if you look at the companies, you look at Microsoft, you look at Google, think about who's heading all those up. And then if you think of, Ajit Banga, who was at MasterCard and now. So that's the business side. And I think what's even more important is, and I can say that I am, if you think of Indian deans of business schools, you'll see lots and lots of them.
Yeah, for sure.
So in academia. So there is a huge impact. And which is wonderful for us to see, and to see students coming from India, kind of further pushing this whole phenomenon forward is actually really great thing to see. So
they ask students when they sort of come here, what do you think are some common challenges you've seen them face in the first few weeks or a month or a couple of months? That when they join the MS in Business Analytics or any program in the B school as graduates, they've had 2-3 years of experience. What do you think are some common challenges you've seen them face?
The first thing let me get to, I don't think typically Indian students coming here find as many challenges as you might think. I was one of them myself some time ago. But I think most of the students coming from India, from the academic perspective, come pretty well trained. Okay, and of course there's a selection process. So I think they're able to handle all the academic stuff. So I think some of the challenges can be the challenge of being in a new place, which is not a unique thing for an Indian student. So those are the kinds of things which sometimes can be challenging, but then that's why student groups are important. That's why having the community is important. That's why being in a place, at least where you have, options in the city. Being in Philadelphia makes it easier. I think all else equal, if I was a graduate student in the middle of, I don't want to put any other place down, they're beautiful, but say you're in the middle of Kansas somewhere versus being here. So that really makes a difference.
Yeah.
And the other thing I will say is, which is really good, is we have student organizations where when students come here and are able to mingle and mix with international students from other parts of the world as well, and domestic students here, those things make things better. So the challenges can be outside the classroom, but really not so much in the classroom.
So outside the campus, the city, how would you define the city for you, and some fun things to do here?
Yeah, I think Philadelphia is, we're really lucky to be in such a great city. First of all, location-wise, we're between New York City and Washington, D.C., two very different kinds of cities. So we're a bit of a mix of the both cities. But a lot of people don't realize this, that the city of Philadelphia is called the city of EDS and MEDS, which is education and medical science. And there are actually more colleges and more graduate students here than in the city of Boston. In Boston, you think about Harvard, MIT, and so on. But if you looked at Philadelphia in terms of total number of colleges, and so this is a city which is rich in terms of its intellectual depth and capital. And so, and that's what makes it special and fun things to do. I mean, coming from India, of course, you think about all the cuisines here, and it's just the culture in the city is the music, the food.
Your favorite restaurant?
So, my favorite restaurant is, this is a difficult question sometimes, which people ask, but there's a restaurant, of course I love Indian food, which is Veda is a restaurant which I like quite a bit, but there are others which are wonderful restaurants. I'm not going to choose one and pick one away. So, but city of Philadelphia is just, it's an easy place to be, and it's easy to get around compared to...
How has the city changed in the last 20 years?
Last 20 years, I think the big impact has been all of the increase in, the population, younger population staying in the city.
Yeah.
So it's something which has really energized the city in terms of just the culture, the music. So it is from the cultural aspect, it's really been amazing.
Perfect. So one final piece of advice you would want to give to the Futurense US Pathway candidates who are sort of aspiring to come to Drexel?
So the advice, there are two things here. I mean, in terms of coming to Drexel, there are, just to tell you one thing, we feel at LeBow especially, the way our team works and the way we track our students when they go beyond this and they all come back. Just this morning, before you came to see me, there's a student of mine who used to be here, Indian student. He works now at Goldman Sachs. He was just waiting for me downstairs just to say hello. So,
nice.
So this is something where if you come here, it's really a sense of kind of family. It's not done once you're done here. We're going to be in touch with you and still in your life, as you said, because it's a journey we're a part of. So that's just my sense. But you asked about advice. So, you got to come here with an open mind of learning and learning beyond your classroom. And of course, learning your subjects and getting ready for the future in terms of what you're going to do. But really coming to have, this is a place where you want to come and really think about, I don't want to use the word just fun, but it is really a fulfilling time in terms of be ready to have a fully rounded experience. Okay, it's not just about in the classroom, it's about the world. As I said when we began this, think of the purpose of the college and think of the social impact of the students and think of making you aware of the world. So you got to come here with an open mind to know you're learning beyond the classroom.
Wow, I think this is a fantastic way to end this. So I think you've really motivated our audience. They're really excited about Drexel. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you, sir.
Raghav, thank you so much for being here and I enjoyed that conversation. So, yeah.